Hello and welcome to a short presentation on video evaluation rubrics. My name is John Bonnell. I'm a producer director with CITL here at MUN. And what we've done is we've put together a rubric that may be of some assistance for you if you're trying to evaluate the quality of the video presentation that has been submitted as a project. So you're obviously grading for content on the actual project itself, but you may want to assign a portion of the final mark for that project based on the elements of the video and an evaluation of the video. So what we've done is we put together 10 categories that can be judged and rated within the video that would then help you determine a final score, and then it's entirely up to you as to what percentage of that score is applied to the final mark for the project. So let's have a look at the video project itself. Now, for helping you in evaluating some of the technical aspects of this video, I would recommend that you jump to the CITL YouTube page, and one of the videos in that CITL YouTube page is a video that I produced called Video Do's and Don'ts. It's about a half-hour long, and it goes through some of the technical terminology and some of the things that we're going to talk about that are used for the evaluation rubric. So that may be of assistance to you as sort of a backgrounder to help you understand some of the concepts that I may be talking about in the video evaluation rubric. So that's a video called Do's and Don'ts on the CITL YouTube webpage. Now, with regards to the video evaluation rubric, as you can see, there are 10 categories that we have put together for it. And what we've done is had a score of 1 to 5 for each category. So using this scale provided, indicate the degree to which the video presentation met each of the criteria. And then you have an option to add comments or aspects you liked or to indicate areas for improvement. The video categories are graded on a sliding scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is poor and 5 is excellent. So let's just jump in and have a look at the first 4 categories. The first category is for content, and this is to deal with the overall content of the video and how it connects with the project mandate for the assignment that was given to the student. The second category is the message. Has the message been delivered in a clear and concise manner? The third category is delivery. And for this, we want to look at the presentation style. Is it appropriate for the content and for the project itself? Have they tried to do something with really fast editing that really doesn't suit the presentation that they're talking about? Likewise, is it a dull and slow-paced presentation where it could have had a lot more energy to it? So how well have they matched the delivery style of the video to the content itself? The fourth category we want to look at is pre-production. And now here's where we start to get into some of the technical aspects of video production. So for pre-production, we want to look at, has it been well planned? Is it organized? Do you see indications that they put some time and effort into choosing a location? Have they used a set? Have they incorporated props into their presentation? Any other materials required for the video production that required some planning in advance? So if you see elements of that in the presentation, then that may reflect in a score that you give them for this category. The next topic we want to explore is videography. And this is where we start to look at some of the very technical aspects of video production. And for videography, firstly, we want to look at, is the presentation in focus? How is the framing of the subject? If it's a direct-to-camera presentation like I'm doing right now, what's the framing like? Is it a medium close-up? Is it a close-up? Is it a wide shot? Did the choice of framings match the style of video that was appropriate for the content? If they're doing interviews with subjects talking about the topic, how were the interviews framed? Did they use the rule of thirds? And that's one of the elements that I talk about in my video do's and don'ts video, the rule of thirds in terms of how people are framed and where are the eyes and are they giving leading eye room for the subject when they're doing an interview. So those are the types of things that you want to look at. Also, the choice of, were the interviews done handheld? Did they use a tripod? Just the basic composition of the framing of the subject. So that's what you want to look at in grading on your score of 1 to 5 for videography. The next thing to consider is lighting. Now, I appreciate that, a lot of students, if they're doing their videos, don't have access to professional lighting kits and things like that. But have they been able to be aware enough to make use of whatever lighting could be available to them? So are they using natural lighting from the sun that's coming through windows? Are they using lighting in the room? Have they done what I've done here, which is actually use a couple of lights in my house and sort of angle them at my face to try to, make the lighting relatively even, and did they avoid having somebody stand in front of a window so that their face is blacked out because there's too much light behind them? If they shot an interview or did a stand-up themselves outdoors, where's the sun and how are they lit outdoors? So those are the types of things you want to consider when you're coming up with a score for lighting. On the audio side, and for all these categories, video, lighting, and audio, they could have been subdivided numerous times. But in a broad sense, how is the audio? Is it clean? Were they able to use a microphone like I'm using here? If they didn't have access to a microphone, did they get their camera physically close enough to the subject or to themselves so that the audio is clean and doesn't sound hollow? The microphone doesn't sound like it's too far away from the subject. One of the things I talk about in the video do's and don'ts is it's physically important to get the camera as close to the subject as possible if you're using the microphone that's built into the camera or built into the cell phone. You want to get it physically close to the person while still maintaining the framing that you want, but you want to get it fairly close so that you get a nice clean audio. Is there a buzz in the audio? Was there background noise that was interfering with the recording of the audio? Heavy equipment or machinery in the room, air conditioning, a TV on in the background, dog barking, those types of things that would be distracting for the quality of the audio. You also want to look at, and we're going to have a separate thing for editing, but one of the considerations too is the audio that they use in the final edit product, music. Was it appropriate? Was there background sound effects or background audio underneath? Those types of things. So what's your overall impression of the audio? Next up, we want to look at the editing. And for this, primarily, again, it's about how does the video feel to you? Was it nice and smooth with the editing? Were there long delays between things happen? Was it too tight and not enough breathing room? So what was the tempo? What was the pace like in the editing of the project? Did you feel like, well, that was a nice video, but it could have been 5 minutes shorter? So those are the types of things you want to consider. Also, too, did they avoid using too many effects and tumbles and transitions in the editing where things are twirling and tumbling and 3D page transitions? Those things get tired in a hurry. I would definitely recommend to a student to just use basic hard cuts, simple dissolves, and maybe 1 or 2 effects, but nothing that really sort of gets tedious after a while. So what's your feeling of the pace of the video? That's what you want to consider when you're coming up with a mark for the editing. The next thing we want to look at is graphics and animation. So were there any titles? Were there any charts, graphic flow charts, animation that they may have used, PowerPoint slides that were incorporated into their presentation? How did they look? Were they too busy? Did they have too many font styles? Did they have too many colors on them? Was it simple and clean, and could you read the information that was being presented? Did they put in a name key if they had a guest or somebody who was being interviewed? Did they put up a title bar or a name key with that person's name and their title or whatever would be appropriate? So those are the types of things you want to consider when you're looking at graphics and animation. Finally, we want to consider the overall impact of the video. Like I said, there's lots of categories that we could have subdivided within graphics or editing or audio or videography, but we wanted to leave a 10th category for your overall impression. So just, once you've gone through the 9 categories and given sort of technical marks, on a scale of 1 to 5, what was your overall impression of the video, and what kind of an impact did it have on you as a viewer watching it? That's what you want to consider for that final category. So those are the 10 categories that we want you to consider for this video rubric. Of course, this is available to you. It can be modified in any way. There may be some categories that aren't even appropriate for the type of multimedia presentation that you're evaluating. We've left room on the right-hand column there for comments so that you can make comments about each individual category that you can either use as a reminder to yourself in doing up the final mark, or that you can pass back on to the student as feedback for their presentation. And you end up with a total score of 50, 10 categories worth on a scale of 1 to 5. So you then take that total score of 50 and make a percentage, and then apply it in whatever manner you want and to whatever level you want for their final score for their project. So that's everything for the video evaluation rubric. I hope it has been of some help to you. Like I said, feel free to take it and modify it in any way, change categories. These are just suggestions that we've come up with. Feel free to modify it to better suit your needs. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at jbonnell@mun.ca, and I will try to get back to you as quickly as I can with a response.